Hello, welcome Simon's Trading Channel. Happy Sunday evening to you, particularly if you're in the UK or in a similar time zone. And if it's not the evening, then I hope you're having a fantastic day nonetheless. Now, thank you for joining me. And indeed, if you like this sort of price action analysis, join me every day. I endeavour to do it every day. And that is obviously does depend on my ability to record and then upload to the mighty internet, which I didn't have last week, so sorry about that. But anyway, yeah, thanks for joining me. Please like and subscribe and get a notification every day. That'd be superb. Now, this is Bybit, and as you can see, it is getting very close to closing its weekly candle, just about 4 hours away. And if you look where CME closed its weekly candle, it's basically at 60,000. Well, it's not a million miles away, right? So there's not going to be a massive gap on the CME chart for this weekly closure. What's that mean? Well, not a huge amount. It just means that, there's potentially one more gap less to fill. And if you find that a double entendre, then jolly good, because I love a double entendre. But otherwise, this is consolidation in its most honest form. And continues to be so, and is now a rather boring and frustrating, if I include the week that sort of defined the range, 23 weeks. My goodness, this was 30, remember. Will there be, so middle of August, so 7 weeks from now, to match this, would basically be October, and I can show you very simply. Whoops. So 7 bars on a weekly chart takes you to the end of September. And I do wonder if September's going to be as dull as the rest of these months, and indeed if October is going to be the time where Bitcoin actually makes a move in one direction or the other. It still feels quite hard to short at the moment, I have to say. But yeah, if this looks completely different by the end of October, well, you have to change your mindset. And that's probably the difference between a trader and an investor. I think I have a bit of both in me, to be honest. But a trader would look to short the market if it's trending down, whereas an investor would look to, buy the dips. So, yeah, I think I've got a bit of both in me, and that's kind of how I distribute the money that I'm putting into crypto. But I guess you have to decide which one you are, and of course have a good strategy, because this isn't financial advice. Okay, daily. The daily is, well, yes, the daily is rather unremarkable. It's kind of wedging itself in here. You could call this a flag. You could call it whatever you want. But effectively, momentum's trying its best on the daily to get back up above the zero line on the MACD here, of course. And it will continue rising, the MACD will, and therefore the lessening of the downward momentum, as long as Bitcoin doesn't close today below 58.4. It's not a million miles away from there, and I guess that remains to be seen in the next 4 hours. I think it probably will remain green come tomorrow. Now, but this is still daily momentum to the downside, in my humble opinion. The 4 hour, as you can see over here, the momentum has crossed to the upside, but not very aggressively. As you can see, the MACD above the zero line, but not by very much. And so this number is probably fairly relevant. So at which point will momentum on the 4 hour switch to the downside, in my opinion, and that is 57.5, which, lo and behold, is basically around the bottom of this range. So if you just very simply put some support resistance lines on, there's one. These are a bit subjective, but you can do them in a logical way, and I hope that I indeed do that. There's another. then you can see that 57 is the bottom. So effectively, I think if Bitcoin starts to close 4 hours a daily back below there, so 57, then it's more downside first, and the what you could argue is the etchings of an uptrend, although it's a bit of a weak argument based on this consolidation period, but that is basically contingent on these two areas, this being the local low, that being a higher low so far, and clearly if Bitcoin starts to break down below 57, well then it gets close to this area, which is at 55. So, yeah, it's not, I think the Bitcoin in terms of, market moves at the moment are low, and low is the wrong word. It just feels indecisive, and I think that's to be expected when you look at the reality, because people forget about the history, even if it's very recent history. So there are two obvious things on here. There's this low, which is at 15,000. When Bitcoin was down there, everyone was shouting that it was going to go to zero. Oh, and it didn't. And then this is where Bitcoin is now. And is it surprising there's some indecision when it's basically around the previous all-time highs? I don't think so. I don't think that's particularly surprising. And it's very difficult to get bearish on the higher time frames when a chart looks like this. To put it into some, I'm just going to have to move my head for a second, sorry. Whee! To put it into some rather less subjective terms though, on this weekly time frame you can do a Fibonacci retracement, which I've done many times, we're going to do it again. So for that last move up, you can see that wick down perfectly tapped the 618, and Bitcoin is now for closures hovering around the 382, right? So I think Bitcoin's well within the continuation area for this uptrend, and obviously that uptrend, blah blah blah. The bull market's been an uptrend so far, and when's that negated? For me personally, 45,000 would be a support resistance area. So as long as Bitcoin's above 45k, I still don't think it's game over. But the potential for a really protracted, it would be kind of more consolidation, but more of a pullback, more of a significant pullback, and a much more prolonged then move to even close to where it is now becomes more realistic. And so people who are looking for further gains in, say, 2024, if Bitcoin started to close weeklies around 45,000, in my humble opinion, that would suggest that the chance of creating a new all-time high in the year 2024 is probably quite slim. I think if Bitcoin can continue to, consolidate kind of sideways and down from here, but not break down too much further, then a new all-time high in 2024 seems reasonable. And only time will tell, of course. That is 9 minutes of your valuable time. I appreciate you spending it with me. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please like and subscribe, and join me tomorrow for Monday. And we'll have a fresh pair of eyes for a fresh week. Take care. See you tomorrow. Goodbye.